Hello, guys, and welcome. Today, I have an exciting one for you guys from a viewer on my YouTube channel. As you can see here by the commenter Danilo Rubino, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. We had a suggestion for a deck list playing some Simian Spirit Guides along with some Karn the Great creators, and that is exactly what we will be doing today. And yeah, we have a monkey amulet here with some cards to go along with it, and I'm pretty excited to play this one. I will say one thing, which was the original deck list posted only had 58 cards, so I took the liberty of adding two cards that were not present in the original 58 cards, that being the Vesuva and the third Explorer. These are my personal choices, as the other cards were not mentioned in the deck list. One other thing to note is that the Crumbling Vestige that I usually play is not present in this deck list. We do have a second Cavern of Souls, of course. And yeah, we're playing a Stomping Ground. No Breeding Pool here because our Red Splash will also help us cast Boil from the sideboard, one that I have not played before today. So I'm excited to do that and see if we can get some opponents. Hopefully we won't be casting this with our own Dryad on the battlefield, but I don't put it past myself. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And yeah, we also see a little bit of a change from my typical Karn package in the sideboard. Usually I like to play one of Sky Sovereign. That's just a card that I happen to be a big fan of, and instead we have a copy of Walking Ballista here, which makes sense, and I'm willing to give it a shot. I've tried Ballista in the past, and generally I'm not a huge fan of Ballista, but we do have one sneaking its way in here. And we also have one copy of Grafdigger's Cage. This is not one that I typically play in my amulet lists, as I find it very unlikely that you're able to resolve a Karn the Great Creator early enough to -4 a Grafdigger's Cage and play it, and still have enough impact. Like, for example, against Storm, a lot of times this is going to require you to have a double amulet Karn the Great Creator draw in order to get Karn into play, although maybe that's not the case when it comes to cards like Simian Spirit Guide in your amulet list, so we will find out. But again, I'm willing to give this one a shot. It's not something I would usually play, so let's evaluate the usefulness of that card together. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say about it. We are playing all the other standard things you might expect in an amulet list. I have talked way too much at this opening, and I just want to jump into the game, so I will see you guys in the matches. All right, looks like we have a match. See if we can SSG some people. Let's see how much we can make one extra mana count here, as we do have our first hand with Simian Spirit Guide in the opener. We don't have a green source to cast this Grazer, but we do get a turn 1 amulet, as our opponent says, "Hi, good luck." I will say, "Hi, good luck yourself." This hand would be much better if it had a bounce land. I'm not sure that it's particularly good without. If we draw a bounce land, then we actually get to cast Karn on turn 2 here, thanks to Spirit Guide, but I don't know, something tells me we can do better than this. I'm gonna mulligan. If it had a green source, maybe I would keep, but ooh, and here's a hand that gets a turn 2 Azusa into play, which I like. We'll definitely keep this one. And we're probably bottoming one of these redundant bounce lands. Actually, I don't mind bottoming the fountain here. This allows us to have any single land as Titan mana. Yep, that's basically it. So our opponent plays a turn 1 amulet, so this is a mirror match. That's insane. Okay, well, thanks to the amulet, we can play a Karn on turn 2. I think that's probably going to be... It'll be Azusa and a Karn on 2, which I think is a wise idea. So let's go for that. Our opponent has a 3-drop on turn 2, just like us. Well, at the very least... Well, we're not going to be getting a coding into play this turn, however, now I'm thinking about it. Dryad, okay. Our opponent could have a Titan here. We could have a Titan here. So Azusa, 4 mana, Grazer, up to 5 mana, doesn't cast Titan with the Summoner's Pact, sadly. I mean, the best we can do is put Karn into play, but if our opponent has a Titan, we're basically just dead. I mean, but we gotta play out our hand, I suppose, so... Here goes nothing, I suppose. And we actually can afford to leave one bounce land in play here. I suppose we can continue our mana development here if we play Grazer with a Stomping Ground. Let's see, that would be 3, down to 2, up to 4. We'd be able to leave 3 mana in play already. That seems worth it to me. Could be wrong. I think I'm going to go for that. All the clicking and the triggers and the everything. Okay. We'll pick up the Growth Chamber, trying to keep Telarios mana available for us here. And, I mean, we could minus immediately. We're probably going to lose our Karn, so we probably need to minus. Yep. I suppose we could have gotten Pithing Needle to name Hanweir Battlements if we had Grazered for 1 extra mana instead of putting the Stomping Ground into place. So perhaps that was a mistake. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we just want Liquid Metal Coating here, so... Let's see, what else? If our opponent does get a Titan into play, then what? We can Explosives on 3 to blow up our opponent's Dryad, but then we'll still be losing to the onboard Titan. Yeah, we have no choice but to go for the Coating here and just hope our opponent doesn't have the Titan. Pass it back. If we had a Spirit Guide in this hand, instead of the Stomping Ground, we would have had a Titan this turn. That's interesting to note. Actually, the Stomping Ground let us cast the Amulet on one, didn't it? I don't know. Things are complicated. Our opponent has the Titan. Well, we're losing everything. One short of having Titan mana otherwise. Our opponent's clearly going to haste with Hanweir and Valakut here, and they're going to attack and do the things. Let's see, 6. We have 3 power that we can afford to block with here. I'll just let them attack and do all the things. If they have a second Valakut and a Vesuva, then we're probably just dead here. That's 3 times 2 is 6 triggers, 18 damage, plus the 6 from the Titan is 24 damage with trample. So even if we blocked 5 of it, we'd be taking 19. So we're still definitely dead here if our opponent has a Vesuva in their deck. If they do not, we'll be taking... let's see, that's 4 Valakut triggers, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 4 Valakut triggers is 12 damage, plus the 6 from the Titan is 18. We can block up to 5 of it. So we survive if our opponent doesn't have Vesuva here, but survive is a very loose term because we probably will lose our Azusa and Karn in that case, at the very least, if our opponent does choose to go with that line. Okay, so they have Vesuva, but they don't have a second Valakut. That's interesting. Perhaps they have a second Valakut in hand. Why is this Valakut? Okay, I think it's foil because the Vesuva itself is foil. Interesting. I kind of expected it to look exactly like this Valakut, but this one is shiny and it distracted me. Let's see what our opponent does with their triggers here. Surely they can't leave us with an Azusa in play, right? And unfortunately, we don't have a second Azusa to Summoner's Pact for if we draw a Titan off the top, so... Okay, so those are dead. We have a Titan if we draw a Grazer or a Spirit Guide. I don't even know if a Titan, I mean, would be good enough here. Our opponent didn't cast a Pact either, so we can't get them on some kind of Ghost Quarter tech play. We'll get our value block here. Yeah, we're probably dead, but let's just take a draw and see what happens. Our opponent, their draw was just a little bit better than ours, sadly. Ghost Quarter, our bounce land. Okay, well now we definitely don't have an out here, right? Yep. All right, let's just go ahead and go to game 2. We probably would have gotten there if we were on the play that game. All right, so we're going to want Dismembers and Reclamation Sage for sure. We're going to want Force. I'm not sure if this is a Boil kind of matchup. I mean, it's satisfying to get your opponent with their Dryads out and a Boil in your hand, but it also punishes our own Dryads. I'm not really sure that it's worth it. I believe that F. Paulus does not bring in Boil against Dryad of the Elysian Grove decks, but I don't really know. I kind of feel like this card should be more reserved for blue matchups, but I mean, let's be honest. If we're not bringing in Boil for the Dryad matchups, then why is it in our sideboard, right? I mean, we gotta have the meme of boiling our opponent with their Dryad in play here, especially since our opponent is definitely not playing Path to Exile to get rid of their own Dryads. I suppose they could dismember their own Dryad or force it, but regardless, then we're at least trading Boil for a card, so I don't know. I'll give it a shot. I don't think it's fantastic, though. I'm just going to say that here, but I mean, like I said, you can't have Boil in your deck and not go for it, right? So, Grazer's a little weak here, although a turn 2 3-drop is quite strong. I'll trim one Grazer, I think, and we can trim one Summoner's Pact, perhaps. Spirit Guides, I have no clue how to evaluate this card in this deck, so I have no clue whether it's correct to side out Spirit Guides or not. Bog is obviously horrendous here. Cavern is not super enticing to me either. We can trim one. Having one to play around... Actually, we're not going to search for a Cavern under any circumstances, are we? I guess it does play a turn 1 Amulet or Grazer, which is relevant. Maybe we'll leave the second Cavern here. I could see that being a fine play. Azusa is obviously great. Karn is obviously great. We could trim and explore, perhaps. I like explore in general, though. We could trim a Spirit Guide, but I don't know. That seems like kind of against the point of what we're trying to do. Okay, I will trim one Spirit Guide. And a second Grazer, I guess. Submit. We really would like our turn 1 play to be an Amulet and not a Grazer if we can help it, so... Alright, we will play first, of course. We have an Amulet. We have one of those Boils packing heat here with a red source to go along. We have a Garen Brig to accelerate out a Titan. We're not doing anything until like turn 4, but if we draw a bounce land or a 3-drop, then that changes. I guess we'll keep it. Not super enthused about this hand, but it's fine. And we're going to try to hide this Boil from our opponent by holding on to the Stomping Ground as long as possible. So I can't foresee it coming as they play turn 1 Tribe Scout. That one is better in this matchup than what we are playing. We'll play out this T-West, I suppose. Yeah, I don't see a reason not to. Untap that. Pass it back. We're just playing Karn this upcoming turn. I suppose we could have played Stomping Ground, so we could play Boil this upcoming turn. Like by playing Growth Chamber and just going for it, but I don't know if that would have been good. We'll see. That's assuming our opponent is able to play a Dryad this turn, which they would need 2 untapped sources to be able to do so. I suppose if that happened, then Boil would be magnificent, but don't know how likely that is, so... What do you guys think? Are we going to get our opponent with Boil this game? I kind of feel like this game is moving that direction. I would love it if our opponent played a Dryad, not this turn, but the turn after, like once we get this card into play, and then they play a Titan from a Summoner's Pact and do some stuff, and then we just like Boil them and they lose. I don't find that completely likely, but okay. They have an Amulet. That makes it far more likely that they do the Dryad thing here. Grazer, okay. So they're playing Grazer and Tribe Scout. Interesting. I wonder why they played the Grazer here. Alright, let's get a bounce land into play, and we've actually drawn a second bounce land, which is pretty good, considering we are able to make mana progress without losing bounce land access, which seems relevant to me. Pick up the T-West, of course, and get this Karn into play. And I don't know if it makes sense to just immediately fire off the minus here. I don't think it does, but I mean, having the coding already in hand means that we could blow up a land, which seems relevant, but... I guess if our opponent had Lightning Bolt in their sideboard, which has not been tech for quite some time, but they could have it. If they had Lightning Bolt, then minusing is bad here, and I don't see a problem with just using coding after minusing for it, and not just blowing up the land, but deactivating it. That might be good enough. So let's just go ahead and uptick. And no need to turn our Amulet into a creature here. Don't want it to get exposed. We'll just pass it back. Ah! Wait. I thought I hit the plus. Maybe I didn't. Alright, let's try this again. There we go. Just have to hit OK. I hit cancel. I feel like I should have already known how to plus Karn on nothing, but I guess it's just been a while since I played this card. Or maybe the interface has changed. Let me know if you know what the deal is on that. Hopefully our opponent plays a Dryad this turn. Dryad. There we go. There we go. There we go. It's over, boys and girls. Everyone. Boil is coming. Our opponent has Tribe Scout plus Amulet, so if they have another bounce land here, they... No, they actually can't do anything about this Boil. They would have to have a second Tribe Scout, so... Like, already in play and able to be activated in their upkeep, so... Yeah, about that. And we're going to Boil during our turn, because if our opponent has a Pact of Negation, then boiling during our turn makes it so they lose to double Pact Trigger, instead of just losing all their lands, so... This looks very rewarding for the Boil tech, but this may not be the usual scheme here. Our opponent's doing all the things. If we're not dead this turn, they have double Valakut already, so we might just be dead. See, 6. Are we just going to die here with this Boil in hand? Because that would be kind of frustrating. They didn't... Where did they attack? I think they attacked us. Yep, they attacked us. They're ignoring the Karn, which means we're probably dead this turn, especially with a fetch land. Can you believe that? That is kind of annoying, I'm not going to lie. We have the red source and the Boil all ready to go here. I guess if we had played out the Stomping Ground instead of the Tolari West. No, we still wouldn't have even been able to hold up Boil, so... That's kind of annoying. Alright. Show them that we have the tech. Return to details. Well, we did lose to the Mirror. Our opponent was playing Tribe Scout, which is a good card in this matchup, and they happen to have a Amulet hand both times, which, I mean, that's pretty good, but, I mean, we can't really be upset about that, now can we, since we're playing the Amulet deck ourselves. This also showcases a little bit of the weakness of Karn the Great Creator, which is, it's not your main plan, right? You're playing Primeval Titans and Summoners Pacts for a reason, and if you have a Karn in your hand, sure, it might be good in some situations, but sometimes Karn is not in the move, and sometimes you'd rather just have a Dryad or an Azusa in your hand, and maybe that is the difference between playing a Titan and not playing a Titan, and that is one of the downsides of playing Karn, so maybe that's partially the reason as well. Maybe I should have mulliganed. There's a lot of different factors that go into that, so let me know what your read is, and I will see you guys in the next match. This is Redface Menace, signing off.